We're not just human beings. We're Lumen beings. We have to stop thinking of ourselves as humanists and become luminists. Human comes from the word humus, meaning the soil, the earth. Beings made of mud, according to the old myth of Genesis, shaped out of clay. But our spirit must now be exhumed from the body consciousness that keeps us in too heavy a wavelength of consciousness to be able to perceive and to download the radiance of spirit. But if we recognize that we are in fact beings of light, that is our true nature, then it raises the frequency of the vibrations to the point where we will receive the feeling of the divine presence. And we'll have a taste of what it means to be in a state of grace. And it is that taste of grace that turns everything around. It changes our whole psychology. From that of the ego's inadequacy, sinfulness, unworthiness, fear, desire, to that of the fullness of being that is at peace with itself. And in that serenity there is safety to open the heart, to feel the divine love. And then from there, we're filled with bliss. So all of the gifts of God consciousness come from that shift in our identity, from the body to that of the formless radiance of spirit. And this is what we do in meditation. We maintain the mind in a state that is separate from the body consciousness and from thoughts, because all of language was learned in a state of consciousness of the body and of the identity based on the body, by remaining in the state of silence, of emptiness. We create an ongoing current of energy that augments, it builds in the mind. If we don't dissipate it or siphon it off into imagery and thoughts and feelings, but remain in that state of silent presence, the current grows. And very much like one of these lights, the current goes through the light, it heats up a filament, and then the filament becomes luminous. And so the consciousness that is being used to simply go into rational thought becomes luminous, intuitive knowing. And then the higher dimensions of our being become palpable. They literally become lit up. And that radiance has a profound effect on the whole energy field, not only of the body itself and all the cells and its atomic structure, but also on the entire field of awareness of the physical plane, and on all those who are in the same region of space and time. And so we are together giving the gift to one another of the recognition of our luminosity. And in that interluminal presence that we create, then the filament of our consciousness as a group is lit up. We become like a candelabra, and each light strengthens the other. And the power of that then burns away the karma that had been acting like a shell that had closed us down and contracted a wall around the heart, and that melts away and we're liberated. So in this meditation, have the intention and the interest to notice what happens when you maximize the amount of time that you spend in the current of energy that is uninterrupted by deviation of consciousness from the central awareness of your presence. Presence as a noumenal awareness with no form, no body. And you fall into that interstice between the past and the future. In the infinitesimal moment of the now, that now expands to infinity. So you go beyond time. You're no longer in the linear flow of time. And you enter into the dimension of eternity. And in that there is liberation that is eternal. So that even when the meditation ends, one remains as the witness of the flow of time. But as the thoughts stop, time will come to a stop in the subjective awareness. And in that, the eternal presence of our true self that transcends this dimension and cannot enter into this dimension as an entity because it is in the eternal, not in the flow of time. That vast, infinite presence that is the one cosmic intelligence, not a separated being. That beyondness of our being is able to descend, as it were, into the phenomenal plane. This is the experience of being an avatar. But it can only be accomplished when there has been a complete disidentification from the egoic identity of the body, of the personality, of a person at all, going through space and time. But you recognize that the person is simply the vehicle. And that you are the self that transcends all vehicles. As you enjoy the silence for a longer and longer period, the energy grows, and as it grows and isn't spent or siphoned off, the energy opens up not only the higher centers of the brain and the heart, but opens up our intuitive awareness of the cosmic intelligence, the infinite presence. And we merge into that. We become one with God. And once that oneness has been attained, in truth, there's no coming back, because there is no one to come back. But there is a recognition that the God we were seeking is present here and now, in every here and now, in every moment and in every being. And the search ends. And the enjoyment of the true meaning of this existence becomes palpable. So in the silence, maintaining the awareness of the augmentation of the energy, the cultivation of the power of spirit. Be aware of the bliss that this creates as it fills the consciousness. And allow yourself to enjoy that bliss without thinking about it, without separating yourself into the plane of the signifier. Enter fully into the plane of presence. And that dimension will open out into a multi-dimensional, infinite dimensional presence. Non-localizable. And in that realization of the infinite dimensionality of being, there can no longer be any fear, and no longer any desire, no longer any sense of anything missing. Because one is.